In this lesson, we're going to discuss identifying vulnerabilities. Identifying vulnerabilities is a systematic practice of spotting and categorizing weaknesses in a system, network, or application that could potentially be exploited. Identifying the vulnerabilities in your systems is critical so that we can increase the security of our systems, prevent unauthorized access, and maintain the integrity of our organization's systems and data. There are many methods used to identify vulnerabilities, including vulnerability scanning, application security techniques, penetration testing, and security and processing auditing. Now, first, we have vulnerability scanning. Vulnerability scanning is an automated method of probing networks, systems, and applications to discover potential vulnerabilities. Vulnerability scans play a vital role in strengthening the security of your network by discovering any known vulnerabilities in your devices or applications. There are many different tools available to help you conduct a vulnerability scan, including things like Nessus and OpenVAS. Now, these tools can analyze your system's current state against a database of known vulnerabilities and then generate a detailed report listing out all of your vulnerabilities and their criticality level. Then, your responsibility as a cybersecurity professional becomes one of prioritizing those vulnerabilities, patching your systems, and mitigating those vulnerabilities so that an attacker cannot exploit them. Now, second, we have application security. Application security is used to safeguard our software from being manipulated during its lifecycle. At its core, application security techniques are going to be used to ensure that any custom software that our organization develops is going to be free of vulnerabilities within its codebase. To do this, we perform static analysis, dynamic analysis, and package monitoring of our custom applications. Now, a static analysis is going to be used to analyze an application's source code without actually running or executing that source code. Static analysis techniques are used to spot potential vulnerabilities inside of your codebase, and this can be performed using a manual review where you read each and every line of the source code and then look for potential vulnerabilities, or you can do this by using automated tools to automatically analyze the source code or a compiled binary to identify any insecure coding practices that may have been used by your developers. Now, a dynamic analysis, on the other hand, is going to evaluate an application as it's being run to determine if there are any vulnerabilities inside of that application. Dynamic analysis tools like the OWASP ZAP, Burp Suite, or the Peach fuzzing tools can be used to interact with the application in real time by emulating a potential attack vector against the application and then determining if it would be vulnerable to that specific type of attack. Now, the final technique we need to talk about that's used in application security is known as package monitoring. Package monitoring ensures that the libraries and components that your application depends on are secure and up to date. Now, there are many tools available to conduct package monitoring, including things like Sync and Dependabot, which are used to continuously scan your application's dependencies and then alert your developers to any known vulnerabilities that may exist inside of those dependencies so they'll be able to mitigate those before an attacker discovers them and exploits them. Third, we have penetration testing. Now, penetration testing, also known as pen testing, is used to simulate a real-world attack on a system to evaluate its security posture. When you examine your pen test results, you're going to be looking through the report to understand how the penetration testers were able to infiltrate or exploit your systems, because an attacker is likely to use similar attack vectors and exploitation techniques too. Then, as a cybersecurity professional, your role is going to be to mitigate these issues that were identified during the penetration test as part of that report, so that way penetration testers and future potential attackers will be unable to exploit your systems using those same methods again in the future. Fourth, we have system and process audits. Now, system and process audits are a process that involves conducting a comprehensive review of your information systems, security policies, and procedures. These audits help to ensure that your organization adheres to the security best practices and relevant industry standards. When it comes to identifying vulnerabilities, you should usually use a 4-step process of planning, testing, implementing, and auditing. During your first step, we need to conduct planning. Now, planning entails laying down your policies, procedures, and mechanisms to systematically track and evaluate vulnerabilities inside of your systems. Effective planning will include determining how you're going to test and deploy fixes on your systems too. During your second step, we need to conduct testing. Now, testing involves evaluating patches and updates in a controlled environment before you conduct a broad deployment across the entire enterprise network. By conducting testing, we can ensure that the solutions we're using to mitigate vulnerabilities are not creating any new vulnerabilities, issues, or problems for our systems. During our third step, we need to conduct implementation. Now, implementation involves deploying these patches across the necessary devices and applications. Whether it's a small network with a few devices or a large enterprise network of thousands of endpoints, implementing the updates is going to be a crucial step for you that you have to perform in order to mitigate the vulnerabilities that you identified during your scans and your auditing process. And then we go into our fourth step, and this is where we need to conduct auditing. Now, auditing ensures that the security patches and configuration changes needed to mitigate those identified vulnerabilities have actually been implemented effectively and you can verify that there are no issues that have been identified after you completed your implementation step. So remember, identifying vulnerabilities is the systematic practice of spotting and categorizing weaknesses in a system, network, or application that could potentially be exploited. Identifying the vulnerabilities in your systems is critical so that we can increase the security of our systems to prevent unauthorized access and maintain the integrity of our organization's systems and data. There are many methods used to identify vulnerabilities, including vulnerability scanning, application security techniques, penetration testing, and security and process auditing. By identifying vulnerabilities and mitigating them, we can increase the level of security in our organization, maintain higher levels of uptime, and ensure that the organization stays resilient in the face of potential cyber threats.